This is Fox 12 Now.
And hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. We are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, as we do every weekday. That's what you see behind me, and I appreciate you being a part of this show. We cover a wide range of topics here during this show. And right now, we are talking about something, though, that I think is pretty exciting for a lot of people, and that is inner excellence. Right here, I've got the book in my hand. You probably are very familiar with the book Inner Excellence by now, and if you're not familiar, you're going to be by the end of this. But certainly, I think around the NFL playoffs, when you started seeing A.J. Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles reading this on the sideline, it really came into the forefront for a lot of people. But it's been around for a while, helping so many people. And we are joined by the author right now, Jim Murphy, who is here with us. Jim, so great to have you here on the show. I appreciate your time, which I imagine is pretty busy right now. In general. But before we get into the book and everything else, we got to talk about something in the past that really is pretty pertinent here to Portland. You're a former Portland State Viking.
Oh, yeah. Portland has so many great memories, and so glad to talk to you because it brings back the friends that I made there and just, love that city. There's a church that I follow, Bridgetown in Portland. I listen to Tyler Staton almost every day. So, yeah.
Right, so it's all that still, those ties, I guess, are still there, even though, it was in college playing for Portland State.
Yeah, for sure. I love Portland.
And, looking at that, going back to your baseball career, I just want to talk a little bit about the history, of you and how inner excellence came about. And, playing baseball at Portland State, you wanted to play for the Cubs. And going through that journey, reading a bit about your history, there's something that you found while you were performing that you thought really affected your performance.
Yeah, I was obsessed, like a lot of kids, obsessed with being successful. I just wanted to be a superstar, have all the girls love me and all the guys, think I was the man and hit home runs and be on the cover of magazines. That was my dream. I thought that was the best possible life, and I was going to live it. And then when I got injured and it all came crashing down, I was totally lost. And then the same thing happened. I got into coaching, no interest in coaching, never even thought about it. And then I got asked to coach a high school JV team in Seattle, and we went undefeated. And I was like, oh, I like this coaching thing. And then I went to grad school to get a master's in coaching science and ended up getting a job with the Texas Rangers. And then that just was a box I couldn't fit into. And that was devastating again. And all my dreams went down the drain. And so, our culture today is so obsessed with comparison, with social media, really amplifying everything. And the ego, we all have an ego that's always threatened, always comparing, never satisfied. And so that's one of the biggest challenges that we face.
Yeah, looking at that now, compared to, say, when you were coming up, even in the athletic side of things, compared to some of these challenges that people have today, you mentioned social media, do you think that's probably one of the biggest things that people deal with today that you didn't have to deal with maybe, 20 years ago or something?
Oh, it's so huge. Our greatest desire is to be fully known and fully loved. It's our deepest need is unconditional love. And our greatest fear in general for humans is rejection. You look at prison, what's the greatest punishment? It's isolation, to be separated from others. And so the ego tricks us into thinking, if I'm more successful, if I have more followers, if I have more friends and success, I'm going to feel fulfilled. I'm going to be enough. I'm going to get enough so I can be enough. And it's never enough. And so there's got to be a better way, and there is a better way. And it's really about walking in love, not fear.
And that's what the book is about, in part, and so much more. So, you write this book, you get this out there. What was it like for you, maybe the first time that you really heard from people, maybe somebody that you didn't know, that was reading your book, that was finding help in that and was able to, maybe overcome some obstacles that they had in their lives by reading your words?
Yeah, so the book came out 15 years ago originally, and I self-published almost 5 years ago now. And so to be getting emails every day from people all over North America, how I'm reading your book for the fourth, fifth time, and it's, changed my life. It's such a amazing, surreal thing to be a part of. I don't deserve to be a part of it, but I'm blessed to be a part of it. So it's pretty amazing.
I mean, it's relaying your experience and what you've gone through and your insight into that, then it's helping other people. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And talking about that, 15 years ago, that original, when it originally came out, but then let's fast forward to just this year with A.J. Brown. I mean, of all things, randomly reading on the sideline, something you don't see a lot of NFL players do. And it's your book. Did you know AJ ahead of time before that? Had you already had a relationship with him, or was that the first time that you heard about it?
Yeah, I was really finding out about it the same time the rest of America did. I knew that he had the book. I saw a picture of him with the book, but I had no context. I didn't know it was his practice, what was going on here. And then I was actually watching the Penn State Notre Dame bowl game, and then I look at my phone, I see all these texts, and someone says, you got to check out the wild card game and turn it on. And then that's when I found out AJ's reading it before every game to get centered, bringing it to every game and between drives, reading it to get recentered. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy just how much that blew up too. I mean, I'm sure for you, yes, you mentioned all the messages you're getting on your phone, but it really, I feel like that probably opened the doors for a lot of people to go and read the book and get an experience of it. And what was that like for you, after that happened?
Yeah, just very surreal that God would choose me to share this message. There's so many things that are happening. I can't even begin to tell you all the things that are happening because of AJ's decision to show the world that you do have time to read, and that when you're true to yourself and you're not attached to what other people think, that you can do great things. I'm going to be setting up camp in inner city Philadelphia and working with the youth there. In fact, I'm heading there after this interview in a couple hours tonight by train to Philadelphia from here in New York. So many great things are happening because of that, what A.J. Brown is doing.
That's amazing. That's one of the consequences of that. And you mentioned something else too about, the reading part of it. And I thought one of the really interesting, stories that happened because of A.J. Brown reading on the sideline. It did happen to be your book, but it apparently increased reading interest to all kinds of students across that Philadelphia area and even across the country because they saw an NFL player reading. And how important do you think that is for students and young people to actually get out a book and actually read something like that?
Reading is so important. We need to continually expand what you believe is possible and get out of your own little bubble. And so if you read, you can explore any world that you want, and anything is possible if you read. But if you don't read, then your world is extremely limited. And that's why we're going to be working in inner city Philadelphia, because the dropout rate is extremely high. And we're going to do something about that.
That's amazing. Well, let's tell everybody here about, this right here. For people who haven't read it, what would you most like people to take away from reading Inner Excellence?
That there's hope. And if you focus on what you're afraid of and what you want but can't control, then you're going to get caught up in anxiety with too many thoughts from too many concerns. We really need to focus on your purpose and serving others, and focusing on what you can control, and then you can do some great things.
Is there one thing you could think of if this were a possibility to go back and tell yourself back playing at Portland State, as a baseball player, just getting started in your career? Is there one thing that you would want to tell yourself from back then?
Oh yeah, I was so obsessed with these temporary, superficial things, and I don't mean to downplay, getting to the big leagues, and these dreams are great, but I definitely would have told myself to say, hey, look, by far the most important thing is who you're becoming, the person you're becoming, and because that's who you take, what you take with you the rest of your life, and your inner world is crucial. I mean, if you have inner peace, you go out into the world in strength, no matter how many followers or money, how much money you have or don't have. But if you could have you could have 1 million followers, millions of dollars, but if you've got anxiety and your inner world is chaos, you go out into the world in weakness. And anyone can go out into the world in strength by having a purpose beyond themselves and learning to develop their true self. Wow. Well, Jim, there's a reason you're so successful at this. Thank you, for having time to talk to us here today too. And I think, my last question is, do you make it back to the Northwest very often?
Yeah,
like I said, I've been listening to the Bridgetown podcast almost every day the last few weeks, and I'm excited to get back down to Portland to attend that church.
Nice. Well, when you make it into town, let us know. That would be awesome to see you, and I hope you have a great trip up there to Philadelphia. And congratulations just on all the success. It's really, really amazing. And thanks for having time to talk to us today, too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Greg. I appreciate it as well.
You bet. All right. Thanks, Jim. And for everybody watching us, too, this is Fox 12 Now. We are live here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, and I appreciate everybody who just joined this show. Feel free to send us an email, fox12now@kptv.com. We've got lots more coming up this afternoon. We're going to take a quick break, and I will talk to you soon. I'm Greg Miller. This is Fox 12 Now.